Before we begin the course, let's get the really boring housekeeping out of the way, and that's setting up the program so that it works for you, not against you. And usually you'll have like a default. If you haven't customized the program, it'll start like this. Complete waste of space going on over here. So let's fix that. Under Window, Workspace, I'm going to choose one of these defaults here. Let's try 3D. It's still not there yet. So I'm going to get rid of some of these or just move them around. We can move these by dragging them. See these little dots here? We can pull these things out or we can collapse this panel. I don't need any of this stuff here for this course. So I'm just going to drag these out and get rid of them. If you need any of these at any point, you can add them back in later from the window panel here. So let's keep going. We won't be doing any 3D. Get rid of that. Layers we will be using. I don't think we will use channels. Drag that out here and get rid of it. I like the history, so let's go in there. There we go. And now we can toggle as we need back and forth. I'm going to be putting presets in this panel here. So let's go Window, Tools, Presets. And I don't think I'll need properties. Let's click that out and get rid of it. I also, and you might not be bothered by this, my muscle memory prefers to have 2 columns here rather than 1. Be sure that we have the timeline down here. We're going to be using this a lot. If you don't see it, let's imagine it's not there. Window, Timeline. This is the key. This is your animation tool. Click on that, drag it down here. You'll see the little blue bar and then release. And then you can collapse that as you need. Now we'll go Window, Workspace, New Workspace, and you can save it here. Call it Animation. Now I've already done that, so here's one I've done earlier, like I say on the cooking shows. There's a few other things we need to do in the preferences, so go Edit, Preferences. General will do. So I'm not going to go through every nut and bolt. I'm going to simply show you each page. If you want to duplicate what I have here, I use the Legacy New Document interface. I think it's easier. Legacy Free Transform. They have altered some of these behaviors and some of the new updates. So I just want to make sure we're kind of on the same page. I've got the dark color scheme. You might prefer the lighter one. I've gotten used to the dark one by now. Feel free to copy any of my other settings. I use animated zoom, which allows us to zoom in and out very smoothly. It's really nice. I always give Photoshop a generous amount of RAM if I'm just animating with it because the file size can get pretty big. Be generous with the RAM. Give it maybe 1/2 to 2/3 of your RAM unless you're running a lot of other software in the background. I've given it 50 history states for undos. If you make a lot of mistakes, that can be very useful. If you have more than one hard drive, it's a good idea to have a scratch disk on a different hard drive from your main one because it'll speed up the performance of the program. There's one more little thing I almost forgot. Under Workspace, Open Documents as Tabs will open up all new images as tabs along here. And I don't like that. I like the images to float, and that way I can move them around a bit more, especially if I'm working with more than one image. I find it easier that way. You might prefer tabs. Doesn't matter, as long as you know that that's there. If you're seeing tabs and you don't see the images docked to the top of the screen, that's why I'm leaving that off. Another important thing to set is keyboard shortcuts. So under Edit, Keyboard Shortcuts, you want to go to Panel Menus, and we're going to go under Timeline Frames. I have already set my shortcuts here. These are the only 2 things I think you absolutely have to do. If you don't like setting these shortcuts because they interfere with your existing use of F1 and F2, then pick any 2 frames you need for next frame and previous frame, as long as previous frame is to the left and next is to the right. This will allow us to shuttle back and forward through the animation timeline without having to fiddle around with little icons down here. One last thing, that is to install my custom brushes and my tool presets. You don't have to do this, but a lot of students I find want to know what brushes I'm using. So let me show you very quickly. They're in the exercise files. If you go into the exercise files folders, I've got the presets for brushes and presets. So under Window, Brushes, you will see my existing installed brush sets. So this little widget here will allow you to import brushes. You simply go to the exercise files folder and you find the brushes and load. You will already have your own brushes in here. I'm going to scale these down a little bit. So they will, or they may reload in as a different folder. You're looking for the ones named Shaggy, Crayon, Bleedy. These are the brushes that I use, especially these ones here at the top. They're really nice. They give you a nice natural pencil feel. I have created presets from these brushes. These are set to my preferences. If you want to load my presets, so you have access to this, you click on here, load tool presets, and in the exercise files folder, you can find them there and load them. And you should have access to them then in the tool presets window.